Okay. After reviewing the film, um, there were quite a few good things in there, believe it or not, and many things that we need to clean up. So, as I felt during the game, it was a lot like that. I didn't feel like we complemented each other very well at all. There were times when the defense had a stretch of five, six possessions in a row where we're going three and out and stopping them, in the offense either didn't get a first down, had a turnover, just stopping ourselves. I felt like we were poor with pre-snap penalties, penalties in general, and then didn't complement each other. Like when the offense did start fast and get a touchdown to start the game, we give up a long drive on defense and let it get to 7-7. So it was just one of those games, kind of aggravating. Let them hang around, and if you do that, that's what can happen. You can lose a game that way. Proud of our guys making the plays offensively, finally piecing together a 75-yard drive and converting with a touchdown pass to put us ahead, and Ty making the big pick, and defensively making the stop when we had to. Definitely much closer than we all wanted to. There's a lot of things to learn from that. A lot of things, as I mentioned after the game, that's true, that we can learn from, we need to get better at, and we need to do a better job when we're put in that position. There's going to come times when you play 12 games where there's going to be some ups and downs. I told you all that before the season. There's going to be ups and downs. I tell the team that all the time. There's going to be a lot of momentum swings throughout this season and game to game. There's good and bad. It's how you handle it. We have to learn from the mistakes that we made in this game, be better in our preparation starting today with the players. I think it all starts throughout the week. If everybody's doing everything humanly possible to put yourself in a successful position each day, then you could live with the results and not worry about the results. I'm not sure we did a great job of that a week ago. I have to get that corrected. Looking forward to playing South Carolina. It's always a fun game, very challenging. Definitely a great environment down there on the road, and they're doing a very good job, Coach Beamer, with the change. You can see the energy and the excitement down there. And they're playing very good football, and we're looking forward to the challenge of going down there and playing them, trying to get another SEC East victory, and it's a big game for us.
Specifically, more so on the bad side that you mentioned in the beginning, that you guys have to clean up a bit?
There's a lot of things. I think it starts with the focus and the discipline to take care of your job. Guys feeling like they need to go out there and do something that's about them and not about the other 10 guys that they're playing with, during the play. Some individual things that are going on. There's some things, we could call better. There's many. I'm not just blaming any one person, any one player. We're all in this together. I said after the game, and I mean that, it starts with me getting them prepared. And I have to do a better job at getting their attention and getting them on the same page.
Even after the game, you talked about, you wanted to come in and throw it around a little bit, or at least that's what he said. He seemed pretty, forthcoming with kind of the preparation and that, and you wanted to take it easy with Chris. Did that lead into or play into the way the kind of offense, played over?
Well, there was nothing about taking it easy on Chris. It was simply working on us and throwing the ball. You know what I mean? Throwing the ball. When we were in our quick game and spreading them out, we were 9 of 10. The only one we converted was late in the game. That we didn't convert was late in the game, and it was on a third down. And Will, should have stayed to the front side where he was looking. He had Isaiah for a first down. He went back late to the field to Wandell, and it was incomplete. Otherwise, we're 10 of 10, spreading them out and going quick game. So, and then there's parts of you again that say, why did you get away from the run? Again, we're just being honest. It happens during the game when you only have 20 plays in the second half. Nothing's what you want it to be, right? There's just not enough snaps, and that's our fault. We had a couple conversions that we didn't make and fell a little bit short. And then again, the defense was, we had all those 3-and-outs in the first half. In the second half, they didn't have one, and then the pick six that's a whole lost possession for the offense. And defensively go out there and give it up again. I didn't add the 2 time of possessions together on those 2 drives, but I would imagine they're significant.
Those are the mistakes you saw. Are any of these things becoming a theme over 3 weeks, or is that kind of?
I mean, it isn't any one thing to me. I'll tell you this: if we didn't improve in the areas we did, then we would have lost that game, because Will made some really good throws. And we made some really good plays, and then we missed some.
Defensively, you had 9 quarterback hurries, but no sacks. That feels like it's kind of hard to do.
Well, if you watch the game, you see how fast he's throwing the ball. He's not. I mean, they were well coached, and I mean that kid was. I mean, you don't want to be reckless with the ball. I mean, he was getting rid of it, and the pressure again caused an interception for a touchdown. So, I mean, I'm glad we didn't get the sack there. So.
Mark, how much of a relief was it to see Terrell pick that pick six? Being that Chattanooga wasn't flinching as to use their term.
Yeah. Yeah. Without a doubt, we let them keep it close. And every time we had a chance to go up, once we get the pick six, I'd like to see us come right back with a 3-and-out, because I want to say the possession before that, the offense went 75 yards for a touchdown. So that's where the complementary football really didn't take place. But obviously, that was a very big play.
Is Jordan Wright expected to be back?
Yeah, he is.
And was Goodfellow, was he punting better, or was
Both.
that an injury?
Both.
Are you going to keep an eye on that?
Yeah, keep an eye on that.
Mark, I'm not a coach, so it always intrigues me how tough coaches are on themselves after a game like that. Liam, I mean, he said he sucked. That was his words, not mine. He said he didn't plan well, he didn't call a good game, he got greedy, he didn't put people in proper positions. How are we kind of supposed to interpret that? I mean, the honeymoon's not over, is it?
Well, Liam's been a little bit hard on himself, that way. That's, you got to realize you can't give you guys all those nuggets. So, because I don't mean this in any way to undermine what y'all do, because I appreciate you. But it's like you can't do that, because when you want to use it against them, you will. True or not true? Right. So, so and so you can't. You got to learn. Believe me, I bite my tongue. We want to be honest. You could tell I try to be honest with you, with the way I talk, with what we say, with frustration, being honest, without giving you those nuggets. So he'll learn that, because sooner or later you guys are going to pull those words out and run them over with a bus.
Mark, do you appreciate the challenge that Chattanooga gave you as you go into the South Carolina game and conference play?
Yeah. Pardon me?
Can you appreciate the challenge that Chattanooga gave you as you go into conference
Oh, well,
play?
definitely. Again, you got to learn from it, and I think it'll motivate our guys, make them hungry. I know I hate to be like that, but I mean, let's be honest. I try everything in my power not, to have them let down. But I think they all just wanted to wrap that game up, put it aside, and move on. And you can't do that. We all know you can't do that. But I think in their minds, it's just hard to, and. I think Liam, again, getting back to that question, I thought we did some really good things. And, he can't, and it's, again, you don't want to throw Will under the bus, but I mean, there were some shots in that possession where we had, in our drive chart where we had, we go TD, punt, TD, interception, punt, fumble, punt, interception. Well, during those drives, there was 1 or 2 plays that were set up absolutely to perfection. That is straight up a touchdown, and we just missed it. You know what I mean? And he can't control that. He throws that shot, we get it, we score. He's a genius again. didn't happen. So it'll come. It'll come. Both. I think Will puts a lot of pressure on himself, and I think Liam puts a lot of pressure on himself. And everything's not always perfect, but there were some really well-designed plays, and there Will did a very good job of stepping up and throwing some passes that, again, you're like, wow, that's impressive. Haven't seen that around here for a while. And there were some beautiful play designs that we just were a fraction off. But I promise you, as a defensive guy, as you're watching that, you're saying, okay, hold on, because it was there.
Season last year, it's been almost 2 years since you guys have played in front of a packed house in a road game. Do you do anything different
Yeah.
this week to prepare?
I do. I do. It's make these guys aware of it, because we do have two classes and a significant amount of guys that haven't been in this environment, and we're going to address it. I mean, I'm not going to worry, overdo it, but yeah, they have to understand. And I could go to the game. I need to pull it out. Matter of fact, I want to pull it out, but I mean, two times ago we go down there. First play of the game, bam, place erupts, goes nuts. We throw an interception in first possession, bam, it goes nuts. Settle in, we take full control the rest of the whole first half, but you got to take those shots sometimes in these environments. It gets, and they do. They just need to understand that, hey, if we get hit on the chin, you gotta stand back up and play the next play. So we talk about it, just make them aware, but I don't need to overdo it.
The two long runs that Chattanooga had, that 48-yarder in the first half, 33 seconds, were those just missed assignments on your part? Or?
Yeah, it was very correctable. Part of it is some guys asking him what to do what we were doing, and uncharacteristic. The first one, it should have been to me, it should have been a 10, 12-yard gain, with Yusuf replacing and overrun, it not at all his fault, but it was inside. One of our inside guys didn't get across, but Yusuf could have been better cleaning up, and then our middle third guy missed as well. So, very fixable as far as not turning into a 30-yard run, more like a 10-yard run.
Shane's energy, that he's brought to South Carolina. Do you see any tendencies between him and what his dad did for so many years at all?
Him and what his dad did? Yeah, I don't know about that. I'm sure the basis of what he does, comes from, his background and, who he is, I would think. I'm just thinking in my own situation, but you have to be your own self. You have to be authentic. And he's obviously being him, with, I'm sure, taking all the lessons and, just being around his father and all that his whole life. So I again, I can't get in his head. I just think he's done a very good job and seems to be authentic, because if you're not authentic in this business, it's not going to work. So he can't be his father, but I'm sure there's many things he's learned,
Mark, Frank Beamer obviously was known for special teams and having trick plays on special teams and stuff. Is that something Shane obviously is not Frank, but is that something you have to be aware of?
Well, definitely, because Shane's background is heavy in special teams as well. So, they have a lot of time, and it's a point of emphasis. And so over the years, there's things in there. So, yeah, for me, we have to not be stagnant and not give same looks, and definitely change things up to not be predictable.
In what sort of ways were you kind of similar to what your dad believed in football, and what ways did you kind of diverge from that?
Well, it just I think the basic principles, the foundation of what I learned from my father growing up around, from a young child, being around football and being around the program and spending time with him, and you just I think the big thing is the work ethic, the discipline that it comes with it. Philosophically, not very much. For me, even if you go back and pull up some of my dad's film, you'll see some carryover. You'll see a lot of similarities, but that's just by accident a lot of times. So I'm not going back studying my dad's high school film for X's and O's, but I just think it just sinks in. It becomes, a lot who we are. At least my family. And I would think probably Shane much the same, just from listening to him and listening to his interviews and listening to him talk. It can't help but have great respect for his father, and we all do as coaches. Have a great appreciation. I had some great games. I mean, I've been at Miami and Florida State, so we've had some really tough games there at Virginia Tech. So it was always fun competing against them. They were always a very good team.
Mark, in the run-up to Georgia and South Carolina, there was a lot of media attention on whether Will Muschamp's presence on the Georgia staff gave Georgia an advantage. Does Eric Wofford's knowledge of the South Carolina personnel give you any kind of advantage?
That's funny. You think anything had to do with it, those beasts that Georgia has on their team? Just a little. I mean, very little, very little. This is a different team, different mentality, so, I mean, Will, I love Will and have a great respect for Will and friends with Will, but, I mean, Georgia's got pretty good players.
Like it's been a different team last year. Y'all had a pretty, I think went 24 unanswered or something at some point against those guys at home, and a different venue, and they got some different personnel and coaching staff, obviously. What can you take away from, because that game's a little more recent than it was,
Yeah, not much, just because of the situation that they were in last year. I think very different. Down a lot of guys, coaching change in the middle of the season, guys opting out, not playing. Very different. This is the front end, so everybody's trying to prove themselves, and there's a great energy and very fundamentally sound in all areas. So, they're very motivated.
Is there any, I mean, I know they have a couple good running backs, and the quarterback situation is kind of fluid.
Mm-hmm.
How does that?
Not much. Very good backs, very balanced. Either quarterback will run their offense. Similar to us in some ways. You see some under center, you see the run game carry over, you see the play action, you see the shots. I feel like they have some guys that can hurt you outside. They have some difference makers at wide receiver, but they also have some really good backs. So very, very good team.
Dave Cummings caught his first TD pass. How's he coming along in that transition?
Yeah, he made a really nice play on that. It's something Liam had a great design there, and it was beautifully executed. To be honest with you, it was a change up off a corner route, and he hit the corner with a double move, and it turned into a beautiful touchdown. So great by Will, hanging in the pocket, good protection, really nice route by Isaiah.
Coming along.
Yeah, definitely. Mm-hmm.
I kind of felt like Chattanooga their experience would play into that a lot. Did you just watch it? Do you think that, and do you think just going forward, just college football in general, that teams, will be because of the way things are set?
Well, that's a great point that I said going into it. I know their defense coordinator. I know their defense, and they're good. They have a lot of snaps under their belt, and especially at linebacker and then their nickel, which are all critical positions. I mean, those guys have seen a lot of football, and they're very fundamentally sound. They have different change-ups, but they understand themselves, and so I thought they did some really good things.
J.J. Weaver handled the additional reps the last 2 weeks that you all weren't necessarily planning on playing him this much earlier?
Probably putting a lot on him, to be honest with you. So need to try to be conscientious of that and try to back off a touch for him.
Is it mentally or more for him to keep up with the physical?
I think it's a bit of both. His knee, it's not like you're putting him in jeopardy. That's not it. It's just getting his legs back up underneath him so he can play as fast as we need him to play in critical moments and predictable pass and things that he's good at. We all know we need some pass rush where he's a guy that can do it if he's fresh and rested and coming in certain situations. So got to be a little bit conscious.
It seems like you had Wandale back a little bit farther than the punt was actually going. And what do you tell him in terms of feeling?
Yeah, we lost some yardage in that. We lost yardage on a penalty. We lost yardage on a there were three opportunities. There was a hold, and then we lost on the punt returns. We lost significant yardage as well, letting it bounce and roll, and that put us in a bad situation. It backed us up, and wasn't good. So overall, we have some things to clean up in that area.
I guess it seems like one of the strengths of South Carolina's team is defensive line, maybe front seven as a whole.
Yeah.
For your offensive line after last week, I guess how motivated do you think they'll be to?
I'm sure they're going to be motivated, but definitely, I thought they had some good-looking personnel as well. And those guys are playing really hard and fundamentally sound up front for South Carolina. They got some good-looking guys up there that are playing good. So definitely, we have to play better.
Back over John's question about Wandale. Judging punts, like when to come up and try to make the catch and when to let it bounce, how much of that is a learned skill and how much of that is just having a feel for
Yeah. A little bit of both. So, number one, we kept on, field position was a factor. That's part of it, not fielding it, but also letting them drive. And also letting them be in some situations where I kept the defense on there. I wanted to get the ball back. I didn't want to let them fake us. So we're in some punt safe. Well, he doesn't have protection on that. Now, that doesn't mean, he still has to field it. So on those, he has to be comfortable knowing that even if we're not going for a big return, fielding is a big deal. And I think taking it off the foot, reacting to it quicker, being confident, getting more reps in that stadium, get up underneath it and get it. He'll get it done. And, so we just got to continue to work with him there.
I know you probably weren't watching the game, but Mike Edwards had 2 pick sixes yesterday.
Yeah.
I know you coached some great DBs. You ever seen 2 pick sixes and like that?
I have not. I can't recall 2 pick sixes, no. But obviously we're in the office working, and then somebody said, yeah, you're just walking back and forth and doing our thing, working on Sunday, and I heard it from somebody in the hallway. Mike had a pick six, and I'm like, great. And I heard it again. And I'm like, no, I already heard that. And they're like, no, another one. So saw some highlights. So really happy for him. Yeah.
The decision to take the ball at the beginning of the game after the coin toss. What's your mindset when
it just depends. It depends. There's a lot of factors. How I feel, we're with our openers, how we feel like we're going to move the ball or not. In general, a lot of times I like to defer. A lot of coaches will tell you that because if you can get it to where you win the middle 8, you win the last 3-4 minutes of the first half. As a defensive coach, if you have to defend at the end of the first half and then come right back out and defend again at the start of the second half, can put pressure on teams. But you don't know. There's factors you just don't know. Sometimes it's your gut, sometimes it's your instincts, sometimes it's what players may want to do, and so there's different factors each and every week.
Mark, it looked like Jeremy Flax was getting snaps at left tackle. Is that because he was playing well or because Rosenthal?
A little bit of both, but Jeremy's got to continue to come along. We gave him an opportunity there, and same with Austin Dotson, and I was very disappointed with him getting a penalty there, and it's uncalled for. You try to get some guys some snaps and bring some guys along. It helps, with Kenneth and Dare, both guys maybe physically, you feel like over a long time may need some plays off, some protection, and or not plays off, I should say rest, understand what I'm saying. It's a long season, and we play some very big dudes, and so I've got to bring some guys along. We've always liked to rotate O-linemen, but we have to be able to trust them.
As a coach, Mark, are you able to kind of block out the crowd and the sandstorm and that stupid rooster crowing and when you get down there?
Yeah, I got the headsets on, so I don't hear any of that really. I know it gets rocking and could appreciate it, but once I put the headsets on, I don't hear any of that.
Mark, after the game, Brad talked about needing to start faster on defense, those opening drives. Is there anything in particular that goes into that needs addressed?
Oh, sometimes it may be him. Sometimes maybe you got to get him going. Sometimes you got to change it up and get the players attacking. The players have to do their job. That 3rd and 2 was a little different call than we have on some 3rd and shorts, and it split us. So, there's a variety of things we could get fixed.
Early in your time here as Kentucky State coach, you often talk about you not going to flinch and back down. Did you feel like in this Chattanooga game, there were times that you guys did flinch?
Oh, no. No, absolutely not. No. We talked about it at halftime, and I mean, believe me, that doesn't mean my blood pressure wasn't high, and I think it's all, like, I respect the game, but flinch, never.
I was curious, with the one-time transfer portal now, you have a bunch of guys with the COVID year who could potentially be here longer. With roster management, has that changed at all? How you, the true freshman?
Roster management's very different. With true freshmen, yes and no. If they can help us, they'll play. So you can't. I mean, I care about all of them, but I'm not in the business of like trying to cater to somebody to make them happy. You know what I mean? So if they're not prepared to play, then they can't play. If that means they're redshirting, that's fine. And guys got to understand, there's always, there's so many. We've all seen so many examples of players that have redshirted, and when the light switch goes off, it goes off, and great things can happen. It doesn't always happen for the same people at the same time. So development is still a big piece of it. I can't get in everybody's head. Obviously, you see things with the portal, you see different things. It's hard. Like, there's definitely, it's a different time. But I'm not going to change my approach. I mean, I always, try to communicate, stay positive with players, make them understand that. But there's development that needs to happen. That's on them too. We need to give them the medicine, and they need to take it. And some guys, do a better job mentally than others. And that's our job as coaches to bring them along and help them understand.